Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for June 12th, 2025. It's Season 4, Episode 163. I am MayorWatt, and normally the Sentient AI would be with me to do these 10 articles, but they're not available at the moment. So this is a time machine episode. We're going to talk about these 10 articles. Big Bang goes boom. Mattel deals with OpenAI for toys. Manet stitched together again. Dogs with jobs. Smells like a new achievement. Wizard of Oz at Las Vegas. Strange New Worlds ends at season 5. Spoiler alert. Quantum mechanics celebrates all the birthdays at once. And right to repair lawsuit with John Deere. And then finally, Egyptian blue and ancient synthetic pigment. Those are the 10 we're going to talk about on the other side of this. Hello, everybody. Again, I am MayorWatt. I run ohmTown.com, and normally the Sentient AI is with me, but this last week, it's just not happening. Time Machine causes some problems with the quantum engine that drives the Sentient AI gets entangled with one of the singularities, and it just becomes a real temporological mess. Anyway, temporology, the study of the science and science fiction of time and time travel. It's one of our channels. Right there. Doesn't get much news, but hey, I'm very interested in time and time travel, science fiction, time and time travel, and maybe the science of it too. That said, we got 10 articles all set up for you, and the first one starts out with the bang. The Big Bang Theory is wrong, according to this article, and a new theory is somehow even stranger. For nearly a century, the science community has been mostly in support of the Big Bang Theory proposed by Georges Lemaitre. I think. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Anyway, in the 1930s. Today, however, and that means yesterday, in the last 24 hours, a team of physicists from the University of Portsmouth has a different, simpler, stranger, and somehow more elegant theory explaining the origins of life, the universe, and everything. So, yeah, I think there's been talk about this for a while now, about black holes being like spitting out stuff. But anyway, it's the black hole universe theory. So as the theory goes, our universe wasn't born from nothing. It rebounded from something, kind of like a basketball that almost goes through the hoop, but makes a wild bounce out of the basket. The article is by Louis Prada over at vice.com, but it says, imagine a massive gravitational collapse, but then rather than something disappearing completely as it falls in on itself, it bounces right back out. Matter compressed to the quantum limit, then sprang back like a trampoline, inflating outward into the spiraling reality that we call home. Theories suggest that the entire observable universe is chilling inside the event horizon of a black hole formed in some larger parent universe. This would mean that our universe might just be the innards of an ancient black hole, and those other black holes astronomers are constantly observing out in the universe could be the wombs in which other future universes are being created. So this really doesn't solve anything, doesn't change anything, doesn't really matter so much, because they're kicking the creation kind of can down the road. How did the universe form? What is the nature of the universe? Where did all the matter come from? What was before? That kind of a thing. So we'll figure stuff out, but I love the theory that we're just in a simulation, and the reason why we have a limit like the speed of light is because the software doesn't allow us to go faster than that, to leave our solar system, then let alone galaxy. And so basically we're stuck because the simulation says we're stuck. To me, it's a pretty simple concept, but it makes you question a lot of things. It's a fun academic exercise in thought. So they say the theory is centered around the concepts and mathematical limits of compression. Quantum mechanics doesn't allow matter to crush down forever, becoming infinitesimally smaller. Instead, it reaches a limit before it gets so compressed that it has nowhere else to go but back out the way it comes, kind of like having too much tequila. It says no dark energy needed to explain it. Matter just became so compressed that it had no choice but to spring back out. Simple as that. All right. But I don't think it really changes anything. But thanks to new data from the James Webb Space Telescope, which found a weird imbalance in the spin directions of ancient galaxies, this theory is gaining traction. That kind of cosmic rotation that would make a lot more sense if we were spinning like something ejected from a rotating black hole. But I think the last thing that I read was that some are spinning clockwise, some are spinning counterclockwise, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. The whole spin of galaxies doesn't really make much difference. Anyway, let's keep on going. Oh, and if you want today's articles, you can hit !NSN in the chat, and ohmTown will spit them out in the order that we're going through them, not in any other particular order. Oh, we used to have elections. I need to fix MooBot. MooBot I added recently to ohmTown again, just for evaluating its feature set again. But we don't do elections so much anymore, at least not yet. Yeah. Anyway, this next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation. And it says here that Mattel signs first of its kind deal with OpenAI to bring ChatGPT to iconic toys. Not those boring, less iconic toys. Bleh. Nobody wants a boring, non-iconic toy to have ChatGPT features. So Mattel is now allowing its employees to use ChatGPT Enterprise to help design new products. But that's weird. They're talking about two iconic toys, as in Mattel makes iconic toys. I think individual toys can be iconic, but not everything out of Mattel is iconic. It doesn't really make much sense. But anyway, Shirin Shibu over at entrepreneur.com put the article together. They say it's a first of its kind deal. Trailblazing new partnership will bring AI power to best-selling toys. So the problem here, though, is that anything done with AI isn't something that you can claim copyright on. So there's no intellectual property rights. Interesting. Maybe Mattel's deal will foster an era where anything created by AI will have IP rights. The problem there, though, is it would be disparate treatment legally if the only way that it can manifest as having intellectual property rights is if there is some massively expensive business deal. That would be an interesting lawsuit that I would love to see come to bear if that's the nature of this. But anything generated by AI, ideas are just ideas. But the materiality of it, if there is some description on how to make something that could be patented, that can't be patented because it's the AI that generated it. Artwork and other designs as well can't be copyrighted. So patents are out, copyrights are out, trademarks are all built around trade, but where is the mark actually founded in? Because if it's just some AI generated artwork that's being used as trademark, that may or may not actually hold any weight in its defensibility in a lawsuit regarding trademark infringement. Because, well, who created it? Was it the artist that used the syntax that generated the artwork, or is it the AI that invalidates the intellectual property? So interesting, because it says we're pleased to work with Mattel as it moves to introduce thoughtful AI powered experiences and products into its iconic brands, while also providing its employees the benefits of ChatGPT, because it says it here at the top that they want to agree to bring ChatGPT to toys, but in the same time, they're saying Mattel is also allowing its employees to use ChatGPT Enterprise to help design new products, I should say. So interesting. This is another interesting situation where we'll have to keep watching it to see what shakes out. This actually comes from TechCrunch, but they're talking about it over at Entrepreneur. Partnership is in its early stage with its first product expected to be announced later this year. Lightcap and Mattel's chief franchise officer Josh Silverman told Bloomberg that Mattel could use AI to create digital assistants based on characters like Polly Pocket or enhance games like Uno. Last month, the ChatGPT maker announced its biggest deal yet, when it plans to acquire IO, a startup created by former Apple designer Johnny Ive, for $6.4 billion. With a B. Wow. Oh, and when I see that little squiggly line, it makes me think of the indicator for a sandworm coming to eat me when I'm playing Dune Awakening. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over on the Marble channel. Manet cut this painting in half 150 years ago, and now the two sides are back together for a rare reunion. They're putting all of the band back together. The two resulting artworks at the cafe and corner of a cafe concert both bear witness to vibrant social scenes from 19th century Paris. The article is over at SmithsonianMag.com or Smithsonian Magazine. Eli Wezovich put the article together. There is at the cafe. Sorry, I'm scrolling, but it's a little hot mess over here. The left-hand side of Manet's abandoned painting of the Brasserie Reichshofen. A reunion is taking place in room 41 of London's National Gallery. Among early Impressionist masterpieces like Claude Monet's, I don't know how to pronounce this, the Garret, I guess, Saint Lazare, and Pierre-Auguste Renoir's The Umbrellas, two paintings by Edouard Manet that were initially part of one panoramic canvas are being reunited for only the second time since the 1870s. Yeah, I gotta keep those two things separate. Just don't let them see each other, because then all hell will break loose. If you have any idea how much these two paintings hate each other, they turn themselves away from each other. No. Anyway, roughly 8 years after this last meeting, I guess, Manet made his first attempt at the sweeping sort of cafe masterpiece. In 1874, he began to paint a scene of the Brasserie Reichshofen on a large canvas. Unlike his other paintings of military scenes or upper-class life in the 1860s, the new piece captured the dramas of everyday life. People smoking a pipe and a beer being carried this way and that. I don't know if there's an actual ballet dancer sitting or dancing over there, or if it's just some artist representation of some other painting on a wall somewhere. Anyway, so they say this is not an accident of history. Christopher Riopel, a curator of the National Gallery, tells the London Times David Sanderson, and they chose to cut them and make two separate compositions. He must have decided that it was not working on this large scale. Yeah. Or he wanted to, he wanted to be able to distribute his artwork somewhere else. That's kind of how I'm reading it. But oh well. Pretty cool. His conviction that the two should be kept apart remained strong. When the two paintings of the same cafe were exhibited at the Triennial Salon in Antwerp in 1879, they were shown in separate rooms. This is the bar at the Folie Bergère. Bergère captures a panoramic cafe scene. Yep. Pretty cool. All right. Well, let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. West Virginia's busiest airport employs two border collies to keep the runway clear of birds and wildlife. Hercules and Ned. Why isn't Ned's first name capitalized? Anyway, are specially trained to patrol the mile-long airfield to prevent birds and other wildlife from affecting airport traffic. The article is over on jalopnik.com. Logan K. Carter put the article together, and there's the two dogs. Chasing birds away? No, not at the moment. While the greenery is great for capturing carbon dioxide, it also serves as a home for wildlife like deer, Canada geese, ducks, hawks, songbirds, and bats, all of which are liable to cross paths and landing strips at any given moment. And that's where Hercules and Ned come into play, two border collies who are specially trained to patrol the mile-long airfield to prevent birds and other wildlife from affecting airport traffic and keep passengers and crew safe. All right. As usual, there's always a lot more at an article that we highlight here. So be sure. Oh, they have a fan base on Instagram and TikTok. Nice. Okay. Anyway, there you go. Go and check it out. Follow the links through ohmTown. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit just hit a milestone we've never seen in grunge music and may never see again. A little over 15 years after it was first uploaded, Nirvana Smell Like Teen Spirit hit a major milestone on YouTube. The video has become the first music video in the grunge genre to reach 2 million views on the platform. What may be more fascinating, however, is that Blabbermouth noted that the video hit the 1 billion mark back in 2019, which means it got another billion views in about half the time. 1 second. Don't ever let people tell you that Nirvana's legacy is waning. The article is by Stephen Andrew Gallagher over at Vice.com. So yeah, I mean, more and more people are going to the platform, so naturally more views are going to be, amplifying these numbers as time goes on. So it'll be a shorter amount of time when somebody hits 1 billion or 2 billion or 5 billion or whatever. So it means that Nevermind spent 13.4 years non-consecutively on the chart, where it was sitting at number 120. And Amin noted that the album is the 4th studio LP to accomplish this, if you don't count greatest hits compilations, in which case it would be the 9th album overall. That's because back in December, NME reported that after more than 30 years after its release, the iconic 1991 grunge album scored a big achievement by spending 700 weeks on the Billboard 200 chart. So we won't see that for another 13 years, right? Pretty fascinating. Oh, I'm sure that there's going to be others. There have to be others that are sitting there still in that mix. I just don't see. That number would have to come from the people that monitor those numbers. I wouldn't be able to suss that out. All right, let's keep going. This one's pretty cool. Tickets on sale for Wizard of Oz at Las Vegas. Tickets to the immersive version of The Wizard of Oz are now on sale at thesphere.com. You have to do thesphere.com. ASMR style. The film will screen multiple times daily starting August 28th, and the price aligns with what the Sphere asks for its current films, Postcard from Earth and VU2. To promote the movie, an outdoor installation is currently on display for photo ops, suggesting that the Sphere had landed atop the Wicked Witch of the East. So to create the experience, Sphere Studios built a team of over 1,000 artists, technologists, and researchers to leverage the Sphere's technologies using the film and key pieces of source material, including schematics and set plans. The 75-minute film experience strives to maintain the integrity of the original while bringing it to life in an immersive environment. So it was filmed in 4:3. Imagine trying to stretch it to a 450-foot long, 240-foot tall LED screen, which is 1,327 times wider, I guess. They have a dot there. Even from the cheapest of the venue's 18,600 seats. So Sphere engineers replaced those close-ups by having AI recreate the rest of Garland and other actors and environment surrounding her for those particular scenes, the ones that just don't quite align properly. So I wonder how much the tickets are. I just don't know. Corey Leviton over at casino.org put this article together, and that's because it's in the Rounders Gear channel, and it has to do with Vegas, and so it gets housed in that. Well, anyway, There's always more over at the articles. You can actually click the thing for tickets, and it appears that they're somewhere between $104 to $200 a ticket, $194 with the cheapest seats during daytime screenings. Might have to fly to Vegas just to experience that. I don't know. I dig this. I actually have always wanted one of these walls behind me, but I've got a green screen back there, but it's not an LED green screen. I priced it out at something like $15,000 for a 10 by 20 LED wall. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Star Trek Strange New Worlds will end with a truncated 5th season. Only 6 episodes, I understand, are going to be in the 6th season, but it may end with other things, ultra long episodes, like 2-hour long episodes instead of 40 minutes or something like that. I don't know. The news is relatively surprising. I don't think so, given the Strange New World seems like the most popular and successful show in the modern era. However, not a single newer Trek series has made it past 5 seasons, so maybe that's just the way things go now. It's worth remembering that Captain Kirk's narration in the original 1960s Star Trek spoke of a 5-year mission. People are basically, they're either getting priced out or aged out or careered out. They're basically going somewhere else in a different direction. Lawrence Bonk put this article together over at Engadget.com. The last batch will only be 6 episodes, but nobody knows how long those episodes are going to be. So it says, we're deeply grateful to Paramount Plus for the chance to complete our 5-season mission, just as we envisioned it, alongside our extraordinary cast and crew, and to the passionate fans who've boldly joined us on this journey. Wow. Not playing into the Star Trek proudly, boldly, mission, etc. terminology. You're speaking their language, my language. I grew up with Star Trek from the original series on. I've watched everything, and I love high tech, future tech, anything tech really. So it says it's also not the end of live action Star Trek on television. The upcoming Starfleet Academy, which we really know nothing about, has already been renewed for a 2nd season. I don't know if it's going to persist. I'm really curious about the nature of this. But the animated Star Trek, I can't remember the name of it. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, it's already canceled too. So they say here a film chronicling the formation of Starfleet was announced around 18 months ago, but there hasn't been any news of that either. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that something with really good writing and a lot of historical canon comes to bear, because I really want Star Trek to persist. It's going to suck if it all dies. But hey, interesting times we're living in. This next article is over in Greenagram. Happy birthday, quantum mechanics. And this person says, I got a ticket to the ultimate physics party. Nature Reporter joins hundreds of physicists on a remote island to celebrate Heisenberg's enlightening trip there 100 years ago. Physicists celebrate all of the quantum birthdays all at once. All of them all at once. Nature Reporter joins hundreds of physicists on a remote island to celebrate Heisenberg's enlightening trip there 100 years ago. The article's over at Nature. The article was written by Elizabeth Gibney. That's a neat looking island. I don't know what all is on there. Made his breakthrough in quantum mechanics while visiting the island of Heligoland in 1925. What is that? What is all that? What is that right there? Does that connect? These are weird. These are like these little walled barriers. They're like, they're breakwaters, but I don't know what they're for. They create little ports, but this one doesn't look like it has anything that it's connecting to. I wonder if there's another island over here. I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty neat. Retracing Heisenberg's steps, the young physicist's revelation on the remote island is a beautiful and somewhat mythical image, as highlighted by science writer Philip Ball at the conference dinner, Heisenberg himself was unaware or unsure of the magnitude of what he had done, writing to his father upon his return, "My own work is not going at the moment especially well. It was only once built upon by his collaborators Max Born and Pascal Jordan that Heisenberg's work became a complete formulation of mechanics. But people who want a birthday party need to pick a date, and now that they're there, they can see that Heligoland's stark red cliffs and stiff breeze makes it a perfect place to roam, contemplate, and hope that some of Heisenberg's genius rubs off. It won't." Anyway, there you go. There's more to read over there. Come and check it out. Yeah, Star Trek Prodigy. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. John Deere must face a second right to repair lawsuit. John Deere argued that both the federal and state governments didn't have standing to sue it, which, okay, how does that work? But the article is over at jalopnik.com. Nobody has the right to sue John Deere, apparently. Andy Kalmowitz put the article together. Yeah, where are you supposed to get sued if not by a federal or a state court? Yeah, you're not immune. So the lawsuit was filed under former FTC chair Lena Khan in the waning days of Joe Biden's presidency, and that will mean that me mentioning this will keep this from being promoted. But the last 5 attempted promotions have been denied. 3 of them were re-denied after an appeal today, even though I don't even talk about politics in any way endorsing one or the other. Political party. I try and keep it as neuter as possible, and I focus on society in general and science and technology. But in total, 8 attempts to promote a video have been denied in the last, right now in the last week. So 8 attempts. So I don't know what to say. Anyway, how about follow us here on YouTube and on Twitch, and like and subscribe, ring the bell so you know when we drop a new video or kick off a new stream, and come and hang out. So right after this one, I've got another show, and then I have to take a break and do some mayoral duties. So anyway, the lawsuit was filed under former FTC chair Lena Khan. The company argued that both the federal and state governments didn't have a standing to sue, arguing that claims of its monopolization of the repair market and unfair label practice were not sufficient. Anyway, Illinois District Court judge didn't agree, so now the lawsuit can move forward. So fight for your right to repair. The judge also just so happens to be the person who is overseeing the class action suit against John Deere, and in their ruling, they said that the company repeated many of its same arguments that were also not persuasive in that case. Here's what else they said. Sequels so rarely beat their originals that even the acclaimed Steve Martin couldn't do it on 3 tries. See Cheaper by the Dozen 2, Pink Panther 2, Father of the Bride 2, Johnston wrote. Rebooting its earlier production, Deere sought to defy the odds. To be sure, like nearly all sequels, Deere edited the dialogue and cast some new characters, giving cameos to veteran stars like Humphrey's Executor, a court decision. But ultimately, the plot felt predictable, the script derivative. Deere, I received a thumbs down. Deere 1 received a thumbs down. Deere 2 fares no better. The court denies the motion for judgment on the pleadings. Yikes. So off you go, Deere. Oh, dear. And our final article for the June 12th episode of Non Sequitur News is archaeologists are recreating the long-lost recipe for Egyptian blue, the world's oldest known synthetic pigment. Created 5,000 years ago. Probably longer than that, but hey, we play the cards we're dealt. The mysterious color has been found on artworks and artifacts throughout the ancient world, but the pigment's recipe was eventually lost to history. Sonia Anderson over at SmithsonianMag.com or Smithsonian Magazine put the article together. The deck statement is what I just got done saying. And this here is a picture of an ancient wooden falcon decorated with Egyptian blue alongside one of the newly developed pigments. So there's the blue pigment and in a petri dish and a little jar, apparently. I don't know. And there is the falcon with a little bit of blue paint. Wonder what the red is too. They found the red? I don't know. So the oldest known sample of Egyptian blue decorates a small alabaster bowl dating to 3250 BCE. The pigment was later used by the Romans, who conquered ancient Egypt in the 1st century BCE, and then by Renaissance artists. The color eventually faded into obscurity, but now scientists have finally figured out how to bring it back to life. The thing is, though, they're talking about this being 5,000 years, but they just know that they've got an example of it from 3250. Well, if this is all they have, and it's not this is from a falcon, but if it's tiny little specks, then it had to have been somewhere else, just people couldn't afford it or didn't know how to make it. But it had been around before. You could argue that, right? I don't know. Well, the color eventually faded into obscurity, but researchers from Washington State University and the Carnegie Museum of Natural History and the Smithsonian's Museum Conservation Institute recently teamed up to recreate Egyptian blue. The study was published in the journal NPJ Heritage Science. The team created 12 different recipes for the pigment, combining crystalline silicon dioxide, copper, calcium, and sodium carbonate. They then heated these mixtures to more than 1800 degrees Fahrenheit for up to 11 hours. I guess these are some of the iterations of it. One of the things that we saw with this was just small differences in the process. You got very different results. The 12 pigments are united by one key quality. They contain a mineral called cuprorovite, which is excited by red light. McCloy tells Natalie Akane Newcomb of KUOW, Seattle's NPR member station, it has a luminescence. It gives off infrared light. Yeah. Somehow I don't think that... Yeah. People smashing rocks with rocks created this. Anyway, I love a good conspiracy, though. 5 years ago, researchers discovered that Raphael used Egyptian blue in a fresco called Triumph at Galatea, which the Renaissance painter created for Rome's Villa Farnesina in around 1512. Raphael may have created the old pigment to mimic a technique used by the ancient Romans, who commonly mixed a bit of Egyptian blue with white to make human eyes seem translucent and more natural, as Chemistry World's Tom Metcalf reported in 2020. And that's somebody's interpretation of why they use that color or that technique. But anyway, it's pretty cool. So they're recreating it as best they can with the available information at hand, and using a much higher level of science, I suppose, right? I mean, if somebody knew how to make this over 5,000 years ago, how did they know how to make this and keep it so substantially the same that people knew that this was quote unquote Egyptian blue? Had to have been some tremendous quality control. So how did they actually make it? Because I doubt that they were sitting there burning a furnace for up to 11 hours and testing it with a petri dish and some, random pipette that they found somewhere, right? I don't know. Well, anyway, we are going to, paint a pigmented picture that brings us back to, God, that's a horrible transition. Anyway, welcome to ohmTown. Thanks for coming and hanging out or watching the VOD over on YouTube. After 60 days, it disappears from Twitch, so we largely don't babysit that side, the VOD side of Twitch, but we're streaming to Twitch right now. We stream to YouTube at the same time. Twitch is where I got the start, and so come and hang out either on Twitch or YouTube. You can post comments in either chat, and I will see them. In either case, follow us, like, subscribe, etc. Trying to grow the programs or the channels. Everything that we stream, all of the shows, all come out of ohmTown on YouTube and Twitch. So be sure to follow us. Thanks. We'll see you later. Bye.